Hi, this is Viru here. I'm going to share with you my solution for Vision AI today, and that's primarily focused on using Databricks on Azure, along with some Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services, computer vision, etc. Let me introduce myself as the solution area specialist for AI and data, director with Microsoft, working out of the Mountain View, California location. Today, I'm going to talk to you about animal health industry use cases using Databricks on Azure. The holistic business case is really important to understand. So let me start with that first. And here I go. The first part is obviously the business context, the relevance of this particular use case, the solution architecture, the well-architected framework, extensibility, the user experience and demo, and the value to customers and Microsoft. So let me start with the overall global animal health market size. That was 47.5 billion. Now it's projected to reach 67.56 in 2026. As you can see from this chart, the forecasting has been done over a number of years, and North America is only 14 billion out of it. And if you look at the overall world, the scope of using this solution all across. Now, when I talk about animal health market, it's broken down by these facets. The animal types, production animal like in poultry and cattle, or companion animals like pets, dogs, cats, horses, etc. Animal products, which have vaccines, pharmaceuticals, feed additives, diagnostics, and many others, right, to look at from product angle. Now, when you look at it from a distribution angle, distribution channels are like retail, e-commerce, the vet clinics, the vet hospitals, labs, which are being run. And this is different across different regions, but you can see pretty much anybody who's providing a medical solution for the animal health market will have to look at all of these assets and parameters. Now, if you look at the trends happening today in the animal health space, the industry trends really focus on livestock a lot, where they're talking about rising protein demand versus sustainability. There's a balancing act that's going on today with cattle farming. The same thing, think about AI, ML, and the use of digital transformation in farms and at vet clinics. There's an increased use of IoT sensors, data, genetics, a lot of analysis happening, predictions happening around this space. You can also look at food animal health attribute of the demand for vaccines, the demand for antibiotics, the demand for all kinds of products around this, health products, which will help livestock to grow better. And then we can look at the other part of the industry trend, which is essentially around companion animals, the health of those animals, their treatment of their pain and health conditions, vaccine products for them. And similarly, you see pet owner influence is rising, as they get impacted as well overall. And then finally, consolidation of all of them, customers, distributors, vets, and the unified relationship across that. Given the scenario of the industry trend, let me talk about what we have been experimenting with on the animal health side. These are some of the popular use cases. We started originally with just basic classification, recognition activities, as you can see here on the left side. There's also scoring, prediction and scoring around the disease itself, the disease classification, subclassifications. As you can see all over the place, we see so many variants coming up with these viruses. The prediction based on size and weight and gait, cow gait analysis. This is really critical. This is more focused on motion analysis. And then using IoT sensors and real-time camera feeds, video indexing them, and using it in a holistic manner. So these are all the possibilities, and there are many more, I'm sure. This is just trying to give you a view of one part of using AI/ML. Now, if you look at it from a CXO angle, prioritizing animal health use cases, requires strategic alignment, and it should definitely have a big business impact, right? So a lot of the CXOs we are talking to today, they talk about using cognitive search, Azure Cognitive Search, and decision AI. They talk about using AI ML. They talk about predictions, Power BI, using the right tools for decisioning, looking at the gait analysis and abnormality. There are so many scenarios, right? But each one, we can look at it across 3 or 4 different operational levers: operational efficiency, net new revenue, cost savings that it can bring, and the overall business impact that it gives the business. This is just an example of a framework which we've used in the past. And one of our customers, said, let's focus more on vision and decision. If you think about Azure's cognitive services, you have many possibilities, but we'll focus in this particular session on decision AI and vision AI, and the combination of the two as it applies over here specifically. Now, what's the overarching mission behind all of this, right? And Microsoft has a much larger vision to empower our own employees, our customers, their employees, and then all the ecosystem of users around that with as much of the technology as we can. In this particular case, we are aiming to tackle the number one economic loss for livestock industry. I mean, think about it, right? We could be saving lives of millions of cattle and poultry if we applied AI ML predictions. We are also looking at the impact to human life. So reducing zoonotic-borne human disease coming from animals, right, that could spread through animals. And then finally, stabilizing protein production in the overall industry for animal healthcare. There's a thought about how we could help in expanding human population too. So why maintaining the health of cows is critical? I'm just giving an example here. There's obviously, you can apply this to chicken, poultry farm in general. There are many ways of looking at it. In this particular case, maintaining the health of cows is critical, to ensure that they're able to breed, they're able to produce, and their productivity impacts human life directly. Farm animals are really critical in that sense because, they are experiencing many strains of diseases. You've heard of bird flu, you've heard of bovine respiratory disease. There's so many there, but the traditional solution for that has been to capture CT scans, ultrasound scans, and then analyze it in an offline manner to identify any malformations or negative prognostic risk factors. In our case, the challenge really is the amount of time it's taking. Due to that lengthy review time and hundreds of millions of cows, around the world that require evaluation, it's just voluminous, it's lengthy, it's tedious to go through all of that analysis, and it's not effective at the right time, right place. It's causing millions of unnecessary animal deaths. So when we think about this, right, the long gap between the evaluation is a significant problem for this livestock industry. From unanticipated deaths, we are seeing 1.5% of the herd annually due to unanticipated deaths, not normal. Food security for the entire global population. Animal products, right, that are coming out clamoring. People are clamoring for those animal products that will make them more sustainable and environmental friendly. And then emerging diseases that are coming from animals to humans, and the zoonotic diseases, as we call them. We need to think about how it's going to impact human health and reduce the spread of disease overall. So to reduce this rate of unnecessary deaths and drive the increased revenue for cow and poultry farmers, we are thinking of what's the true problem to tackle here from an AI ML, from a data sciences perspective. Many of the farms and the fields are turning to advanced monitoring technology, but at the core level, we have enough data today to start analyzing and improving the market over there. So For this particular exercise, for this use case, what is the core problem statement? What is the challenge we identified initially? We ran this as a series of experiments, hackathons, and then working with partners, we came up with reimagining those experiences for vets, for farmers, for animal pharma firms, so that they can leverage image video recognition technologies. How can we use AI ML? How can we use vision AI, image recognition, to help in making better decisions in serving the audiences of these customers using Microsoft Azure AI and Databricks on Azure? This was the application we sought for. This was the challenge we wanted to take on. You can also look at the challenge from other angles, from a design thinking angle. How can we improve the self-service experience for these farmers or vets? How can we scale up these people, process, and tools? How do we generate delight in this industry, customer delight? And scaling up on demand at the right time, just in time, is really critical. And so we can look at this problem from different angles. Today, we'll focus more on the experience using these technologies. Now, to do that, we approached it from an empathy perspective. Envisioning a solution required us to empathize with the animal health pharma customer first, the CIO or the PO, the product officer who builds products for this industry. So we were amazed, when we met them, we spoke to them, we were amazed to realize the lack of process streamlining. The amount of cycle time was very long. Of course, time-consuming activities, manual data activities happening, data process and dependencies on subject matter experts, a lot. Lack of awareness of new tech, that how they can use that tech, and then not using the tech to actually track and reduce the loss in animal operations. Lack of tooling or intelligence to scale the process. All of this, we heard quite a few different stories around this. Now, what's next, right? What's the action plan for all of this? It would be really game-changing if we implemented next best action, predictions and recommendations for drugs in rapid time, integrated with the whole solutions for those farms, right? So that they get information at the right time, right place. And then proactive decisions can be taken if this AI model is really used well. The failure detection also helps. Early alerts, notifications, failure detection in general would help these farms as well. So if you think about it from the other persona angle, the vet, the doctor, the animal caregivers, right? And we spoke to a number of these. If you think about it, we were really amazed by the fact that there's no standard operating procedure. It's all non-standard, not automated in any way. Every doctor, every farmer, or every part of the life cycle seems to be non-standardized. No streamlining, as we saw before with the previous persona, to very manual to upload all this data up into the cloud or move the files around and drives and send it over by truck, to some city for analysis. It's just time consuming and lengthy and involves lots of people. And these people are obviously struggling to get that information back there. So what would be game changing in this scenario? It would be game changing if we could use less people and less of the time needed in processing all this data, the video, unstructured data coming through, to collect all the images, analyze it, integrate it into the flow of decision making, and make it really convenient, reduce down the number of hours it takes, right? Not just for travel and moving data, but the analysis time too. So these are the two possibilities. Now, if you think about the value proposition for our use cases here, just focusing on cow and chicken for a moment here, it could apply to many other scenarios with pet animals too, as you can realize. But if you think about it, the farmer could be alerted to the health condition of the cattle ahead of time. Proactive, right? Notifications, the drugs that are possible for solving a specific problem. We could also think about it from the pharma company perspective, understanding the cattle health condition and what kind of medical help is needed here, what can be proposed, what's relevant in this specific scenario, what education can be provided to the users. Eliminating any manual process, obviously, in terms of going through so many videos and each frame of the video. It's just time consuming for a human to do. So it would be wonderful to use Vision AI or AI ML in different shapes and form to solve some of these problems. Finally, accuracy of analysis is also important, and the frequent monitoring of health is important. So all of this can be considered in our value proposition. And if you think about it truly for the poultry farmers, think about from their angle, stand in their shoes. It's really, what's the business ROI? What's the sustainability impact? So all of that we have to keep in mind. There are some more additional points you can see here. I've demonstrated some on production of healthy livestock, others focused on reducing the diseases, others focused on linking it to human health and the spread of disease across farms to people. And then finally, technical feasibility and ease of use of any new technology that we consider for this. So moving into the kind of the summary of all of this, right? The Vision AI, we believe, is poised to have a significant effect on livestock industry. Animal health, right? Where you can have pharma companies cross-selling, upselling new products if they have the right data points available, the right predictions available in a cost-effective manner. Vets, thinking from the vet's angle that you can not manually reviewing each and every video and image, but automating some of that process using some of these cognitive services and custom vision services from Azure. Finally, enabling livestock farmers to dramatically reduce the rate of unanticipated cattle and poultry deaths that occur, resulting in massive economic gains. Just as significant are the ethical strides too. Think about preventing unnecessary animal death and the positive environmental impact as well, and the reduction in disease overall that could translate to humans. So all of that, considering that, just think about the US alone for a moment. Of course, we can apply it across the world, but in the US, 2 million cattle farms can immediately benefit from this kind of a solution. So moving to the architecture aspect of it, let's look at the functional architecture, the logical architecture, and the extensibility of this solution overall. You can think about it in this manner, right? That at the core, on the left side, you see here for this selected use case, we have a bunch of unstructured data, cow lung videos and CT scan videos and radiological images and other ultrasound images coming across. All of that has to be ingested, and think about the core Azure Data Services platform available to you, the Azure Data Factory, using Azure Data Lake, blob storage, cognitive custom vision services, cognitive services, Azure ML Studio in hand and glove with Databricks on Azure allows you to take all of this, analyze the video, and then come up with some trained models that can be used in good decision-making in predictions. Now, think about it in the form of recommendations, right? We want to make the next best action possible, the right recommendation possible. So we have considered also the reinforcement learning engine in this particular case, which is a personalizer, Azure Personalizer service, which can be used in this case. And at the end, you also have Power BI for dashboarding and for analysis, for presenting to consumers. And this combination of Microsoft Azure Data Services sitting on top with Azure Databricks allows us to do so much more than expected. Now, if you think about this from a broader perspective, a more IoT specific or sensor sensitive perspective, you have live camera feeds coming in. Azure Percept intelligent devices could be at the edge providing that feed. Fitbit for cows, those kind of Fitbit IoT devices coming in and helping track the movements of cows in real time. Also taking images through mobile, image uploads and handheld CT scanners, which can be more portable and usable in the field. All of this comes in through this kind of architecture, as you can see here. I won't go into the details of it, but the idea is to make it commercially scale available, right? Containerized models of all the cows and the chicken analysis that we have done, custom vision APIs that are used in the process, and logic apps, Azure logic apps and Azure Event Grid used in a very effective way to share the information across to drug recommendations and personalizing that whole service over there. There's something here in between too, which is the cognitive service for anomaly detection, where you can do early detection of disease spread through the US, right? Labeling of all the images, all of that can be automated. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of Power Automate features that can be applied and used also in this particular case. We have tested with some of these elements, we have experimented, and we have seen great value in approaching it in this manner. Of course, if you have Azure Synapse, you have some additional benefits here in integrating all these services together and presenting it to the right audience, the users who can make the right decision. But you also have the benefit of using the data scientists using Azure Databricks and doing additional analysis, reinforced learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning. They can do a lot more with batch and real-time processes, both considered over here. So the vets, the farm owners, the pharma companies, all of them could benefit if they utilize, these different ways of dealing with animal health. Moving ahead, I'll talk a little bit about the principles considered in this case. Reliability, for sure. Security, cost optimization, making sure it's not too expensive also in that sense, and the performance efficiency, and the operational excellence overall in terms of DevOps, machine learning ops, ML ops, as they call it, commercially scaled ML ops. So you can see in this block on the right side, we've covered all the Azure services utilized, from Power Apps to Power BI, Power Platform to Azure integration services that you can see over here, the app services along with the storage, compute, and operational ops services, which work hand in glove with GitHub and Databricks AI ML services, so that you can combine all of this together in a secure and reliable manner, maintaining overall cost control. Moving ahead, this same solution, right, can be built in building blocks, like Lego blocks. You start small and then you build up top and you add more and more features as you go along. Initially, it could be just focused on video indexing and reducing the time it takes to go through all the videos. It could also be about image classification. It could be about training the model and using reinforced learning along with humans working side by side with AI systems to reinforce and make sure the right decisions can be taken at the right time. And beyond that, you see motion analysis, gait analysis for cows, as we are going to talk about, bird and farm level performance, geo level at the farm level, and then optimization of the distribution of animal drugs to all of this. Also, the use of IoT devices in this industry can be augmented by using the right architecture and adding more and more value along. So as you can see, we have forecasted all of this, and keeping the Microsoft direction of the metaverse in mind, this could convert into a digital farm that can be remotely maintained and managed and monitored, where we can have a digital twin maintenance version of the digital twin of the farm, and you can manage it like a metaverse with all the different actions coming together and the commerce happening along with all of the other usual day-to-day business activities. So this is just the big view of things. Now let's go into the specifics of the Azure service being used. Azure Vision services, the cognitive services for vision that we have, Vision API, that can help us with some basic stuff. What is in this image? Can we identify those objects? Can we recognize specific diseases among those images and videos that we are processing and score it, analyze it, what scores are available, what types of disease are these, predict the different possibilities with disease spread that's taking place. And then using knowledge mining or Azure related services for cognitive search, you're able to go through and identify, find certain patterns, explore the knowledge that is there, latent knowledge hidden in there in the data, and you're able to then, trend it out, create predictions around it. And finally, being able to do search of all kinds, smart searches, intelligent searches, so that you're able to find these things easily and expose it to the external world. In this particular demo today, I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios. I'll focus more on the chicken scenario for today, but I do have another view of the cow lung scenario, which requires ultrasound scanned videos being converted to images pretty quickly and analyzed in as fast as we can over in this particular scenario for all kinds of scoring and next best analysis, next best action that can be taken over there. So what are the core components of this demo? Azure Video Analyzer, AVA, and Azure Computer Vision. These are the two core elements, but there's a lot more detail behind it, which I can show you in this demo format too. Who are the personas involved in this user experience? We have on the left side the end users, the farm owners, the vets involved, and on the right side you see the administrators, the pharma companies who have their data sciences personnel looking at this problem, who are looking at the technical analysis of the disease. So they have subject matter experts who can make out the nuances of the disease that's happening through symptoms. So we look at these personas and think of the experience here just for chicken lesion for a moment. When you do see chicken that are sick or diseased, about to die, there's some analysis done. The farm owner can do some part of the analysis, which you see on the top here at the blue line. Chicken details are captured, images are uploaded, and they can do all of this through a mobile app as shown here. But as this is reported and analyzed on, you can do suggestions on top of it. And the drug or the pharma companies can provide that recommendation in there. But behind the scenes, this is what you see at the bottom, the green line and the orange line. We're collecting images, ingesting images, training the model, creating an initial prediction, and reinforced learning is happening here in the orange track here, where we validate and confirm the model and improve the model as we go along, and then commercially scale it up and deploy it for all kinds of I2 scoring and NBA type of activities across multiple farms. So this is the scenario. This is the use case experience, and I'm going to quickly show you the vision of the application. This is the building model part of it, and then the consumption part of it. And we'll see how the Microsoft Azure components and Azure Databricks components are utilized in this particular sequence of activities. So just moving to that example, I'm going to share very quickly the experience in a browser kind of application. And this is the image that you can see here today. You see this application. This is not the production version, but this is the experimental version in which we were showing the details. So here on a site, you can see all kinds of analysis being done, and there'll be a bunch of applications sitting here. These applications could be focused on chicken, cattle, and other types of animals. But let's look at chicken today. In this particular scenario, you see Azure Custom Vision being used. Videos are uploaded, images are uploaded, they're converted, they're stored. And here are 3 or 4 examples that I can show you of the training that's done with these images and videos. So you have this image that is uploaded on the left side, and the farm owner has given a score to it of 2, saying that this is probably a level 2 disease that you can see from the reference scoring here. Now the machine learning system comes back and says, no, it's a 3. It's a much more deadly disease, should be taken a look at more seriously. So should we go with the farm score or this, right? So we go with the machine learning score for this particular case, is save it and then move ahead. Similarly, for other scenarios, let's look at this other piece of a chicken, right? A gizzard. And here again, the scenario is the farm owner is scoring this as a worse problem, number 3, but the machine learning has come up with a score of number 2. So in this particular case, we're going with the farm score and moving ahead. And final scenario, final use case here is the chicken feet. And from the chicken feet also, we can figure out whether these are symptoms leading to some problems. And using this kind of training model, now we have a debate here. Is this the computer vision score more accurate or the farm owner score more accurate? In this particular case, it's not the right score. So I want to change the score, and I can make it a 3 instead of 1 and 2 because I'm the subject matter expert and I'm not thinking it is 1 or 2, but it's actually a 3 problem, and I can save the score and move ahead. This is the way the model is being trained and reinforced learning is happening, and we are moving along and building on top of it. There's also dashboards, Power BI dashboards, and the predictability part of it being shown over here with intestinal integrity, respiratory index, all the next best actions that can be taken with these kind of trends that we can see over here. Now, going back to the cattle scenario, for cattle also, we could have ultrasound images, we could have videos coming in, and these videos need to be scanned and converted into analysis that we can do. So in this particular case, as you can see, we can do this similar analysis and give our scoring. And this is all in the training mode where we are trying to make sure the model is really good and usable in space. So this is all Azure custom vision combined with a little bit of video analysis, all coming together over here. And this also has its own dashboard with heat map analysis and affected animals by disease, the scores for these animals that are affected with their thoracic diseases that they're having. So all of this, if you see together, you can look at it holistically, and there's a dashboard we can look at from a Power BI angle holistically. What's the environment like? What's the soil moisture? What's the rainfall in that region? What's the wind speed? What are the different trends that are happening? Is it seasonal in nature, and how is it going to impact those animals? Right now, we could also use the anomaly detection service from Azure as a cognitive service and do some seasonal analysis or isolation forest modeling and visualization of the same, so that you can identify where these anomalies are taking place and make the appropriate decisions. We can look at it from another perspective, which is next best action. Now we've got the data, we've analyzed it, we have some anomaly detected. Now what's the next best action? And we can look at it at a local farm level or across multiple farms. And this is a visualization of the same. So behind all of this is code, right? To make the next best recommendation, there's code. So let me quickly show you that in Azure, Microsoft Azure. These are the resources created here as Azure Databricks instance that we have available. And in that space, we have workspace over here. You can see in the workspace in the notebook, we have chicken lesion predictions analysis, and there's a whole bunch of code and analysis that's done around this. I won't go into the details for this particular demo, but you can see that we can do some amount of modeling here and then package it, put an endpoint around it, and use it in the overall architecture that we have planned with cognitive services included. Now, what if it was cow gait analysis, motion analysis? So similarly here, there's a whole bunch of code you can see here, analyzing streaming data that is coming in and making decisions around it. And finally, one last thing I'll show you is on the next best action for healthcare drug recommendations. Of course, this is just an experimental code here, but it shows you that we can make personalized recommendations using cognitive services from Azure, and then make sure it's all integrated into the flow of the overall architecture. So I hope this gives you a good idea of the solution from a machine learning perspective. There's obviously a load of research being done by Stanford. It's being done by many companies across the board. Some of our customers are leveraging these kind of solutions to ensure good decision making. So moving from that, I'll go back to the presentation and talk about the remaining portions of our experience, which is essentially what happens beyond this, right? Beyond the spectrum that we are looking at, which is we got this information, we have plugged it in, we have kind of a vision for livestock health intelligence monitoring. So that's like this particular piece is a small piece of the overall solution, and it can plug and play with the overall set of data sources coming in, new data sources for movement behavior, videos, sensors, food and water related sensors, atmospheric sensors, farm level sensors, and geo level sensors that can be used with acoustic devices, also listening into the audio and converting that into intelligence that can be used in good decision making. So these two things, when you combine together, they plugs like building blocks into the digital farm metaverse, which will help farmers across the board making great solutions possible, great decisions possible, and good cross-sell and upsell possible. So this is kind of the vision of using Microsoft MetaVerse technology stack, adding all of the app portions, the data portions, the AI pieces, all the innovation that can be brought together to reduce the unanticipated deaths, to improve the cattle productivity, to ensure a safe consumer food supply and ensure a reduced environmental impact as we are doing all of this. So this is kind of the last part of the presentation. I'm just summarizing everything together. Innovation in Vision AI is poised to have a significant effect on the livestock industry. You can think of it from all these three different angles. Vets will no more have to go manually through each and every video. They can do the analysis using these automated AI-oriented tools. Pharma companies can focus on cross-selling and upselling the right drugs at the right time, right place to the right audiences. And then the farmers also benefit from all of this because we are able to ensure that they are able to take care of their animals well. And this is a very practical solution, can be applied in many countries. In the US itself, we can start with the 2+ million cattle farms which are here, and it uses AI/ML very effectively. And if you think about the potential target architecture, you have Azure, you have computer vision, cognitive services, you have logic app and power apps here with mobile interaction, and Cosmos DB photos and web app. At a high level, it's giving you the Power BI decision-making framework that's possible. And then when you think about it from an adaptive business perspective, you're able to use perception and interaction. You're able to use decision AI. You're able to use knowledge and prediction all together to make differentiated decisions happen. And learning from the earlier outcomes, you're able to apply reinforced learning and improve the whole life cycle of this decision-making process. So with that, I'll end my session, and thank you everyone for paying attention, for interacting. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available at vpax on Twitter and virupax.mirji@microsoft.com for any questions you have. Thank you very much, and really appreciate the time you have spent with me today. Thank you.